Welcome to our admissions podcast, A Pathway to Princethorpe, a podcast series designed to assist parents just like you in the exciting journey of applying to Princethorpe College. Throughout this series, we'll delve into the admissions process, explore everything from understanding our school's ethos to practical tips for preparing your child for our entrance exams and beyond.
Before we dive into the nitty-gritty of admissions, let us take a step back and introduce you to Princethorpe College. Founded on a rich history and a commitment to academic excellence, Princethorpe is more than just a school. It's a community dedicated to nurturing the potential of every student who walks through its doors.
Throughout this series, we will be your guides, providing insight, answering your questions, and shedding light on what sets Princethorpe apart. So whether you're a first-time parent navigating the independent school's admissions process, or considering a change for your child's education, you've come to the right place.
So, sit back, relax, and join us as we embark on this journey. Let's navigate the admissions pathway to Princethorpe together. Hello and welcome back to our podcast, The Pathway to Princethorpe. Today we're going to be talking about preparing your child for those all-important entrance exams. And you're here with Catherine, the registrar, and Georgia, the assistant registrar. So, registration deadline is normally last Friday in September. So, for September 2025 entries, the deadline is Friday, the 27th of September 2024. And then that prepares you and gives us enough time to turn around all your application information, make sure that we've got everything in order for the entrance exams, which are then at the beginning of November. So again, for entry into the college at September 2025, the entrance exams are on Saturday, the 9th of November 2024. So, Catherine, do you want to tell us a little bit about what an entrance exam day looks like?
Absolutely, it's a very important day. We know that parents do often get a little bit worried and stressed about the entrance exam. Best advice that we can give you is please relax, please don't worry. We will look after your child. We often find that the day is far more stressful for the parents and the children. They often come out and say how much that they've enjoyed the day. We work really hard to make sure that the day is as relaxed and stress-free for the children, and we try and make it just like a normal day at school. So we normally have our registration in the morning, usually around about 8:45, 9 o'clock. Full instructions will be sent to you by email just before the entrance exam, so you've got everything to hand. But on the day, children come in, they will be registered in our school dining room. They're all divided into coloured groups, so your child might be in the red group or the blue group or the green group. And they're given a little coloured card with all their details on to check. The parents will be given a similar coloured card which will tell them where to pick their child up from at the end of the day. We normally have around about 300 children sit the entrance exams on that Saturday. So it is a busy day, it is a busy registration process, but we are very practiced at it and we make sure that the wheels run like clockwork and everybody is registered as smoothly and as quickly as possible. The children are divided into their coloured groups, and these are quite small groups. They're class sizes of about 20 children or sometimes smaller in a group, so we don't have children all sitting at individual desks in the sports hall or anything like that. It's just a normal class size group, and they have a teacher and a sixth form helper with them throughout the day looking after them. They will take each of their assessments in the same classroom, other than the online verbal and non-verbal reasoning test, which we'll talk about in a minute, but they will sit that in a different computer room. But the teacher and the sixth form helper will take them to and from that room. Once they've been registered in the dining room, parents say goodbye at that point, and we take the children down, usually to the school chapel, while we wait for everyone to arrive, and we just have a cartoon film just to get everybody feeling relaxed before everybody starts. Once everybody's arrived, then the teachers will come and collect their coloured groups and we'll take them off to their particular classroom, just a normal Princethorpe classroom that they will be taking their different exams in throughout the day. We can't tell you which order they will take their exams in because it is on a bit of a carousel system, but they will have 4 separate sessions throughout the day with a break in between each one. We will definitely be giving out those legendary Princethorpe cookies again, and they will also have lunch and a playtime with us. The groups are allocated just alphabetically, so that makes sure that children who don't know any other pupils are not necessarily left out on their own. Everyone's mixed up together, sort of say randomly allocated just by alphabet. So if your child is not with their best friend in their group, please don't worry. There may well be an opportunity for them to see their friend during playtime or lunchtime. And I'm sure there will be at least some familiar faces that they see throughout the day.
So in terms of what's actually assessed on the day, what papers do, for example, Year 7 entry place? What papers do they sit?
So for Year 7, as we've said, they have 4 separate assessments. There's an English paper, which is like a comprehension. It just read the story and answer the questions in a booklet. There's a maths paper, and that is mainly based on Year 5 maths syllabus, because we realise they've only just gone into Year 6 when they take the exams. There's a verbal and non-verbal reasoning assessment, and that is for most of the candidates, so Year 7 to 9, they do that on a computer. As long as the child is confident to use a mouse to click different options on the screen, so it might be a multiple choice answer, or just occasionally they just have to type in a missing word or a couple of numbers, but no lengthy writing at all, or typing. It's just sort of click and drag or click on the multiple choice option they want to give. And then there is a free writing paper, and this is just more like an extended piece of writing where we will give a particular range of topics to write about, and they just write as much as they can in the time provided. It's not necessarily creative writing, we're just looking to make sure that they have a good standard of literacy.
And for older people, so those perhaps looking for places into Year 9 or 10, do they do free writing, or is that slightly different?
So slightly different. So Year 7 and 8 get exactly the same. They have the maths, English, the online verbal and non-verbal reasoning, and the free writing paper. Year 9s do English, maths, the online verbal reasoning, and a language paper, so either French or Spanish. They can indicate which one they would prefer to do. And for Year 10, they do English, maths, either French or Spanish, and then their verbal reasoning assessment is actually a paper-based version. They don't do theirs on the computer. So that's the differences between the year groups.
And we would say, in terms of study tips and any resources, we will put links down below to English papers, sample English papers. There will be a link to an example chem test, and we don't actually give out sample maths papers. But if you go to the entrance exams and admissions booklet, that should detail the sorts of topics that they are going to be expected to know about. So in terms of study tips, Catherine, what would you say is the best way to actually prepare for an entrance exam day?
We'd certainly tell your child not to worry. That's the best advice that we can give. You don't need to put any additional pressure on them at all. We know some children will have some sessions with external tutors. It's not something at all that we ask for or expect if they are just doing their homework at school, practicing spellings, reading plenty, asking about any words they don't understand, or perhaps you could look up together what different words might mean. That is absolutely all that is required. We certainly are looking for children who are willing to write as much as they can in the time. So that's something you can practice. You can give your child a topic to write about, maybe a hobby or what their favourite holiday might have been, something like that. And then you can put your kitchen timer on or a timer on your phone and just get them to practice against the clock. That's something that they can do just to get used to the concept of writing in a particular sort of time constraint. But we don't want anybody to be stressing about anything. We're not here to trip them up or ask them anything difficult at all. As George has said, we don't provide a sample maths paper. That's because we found that in the past, children were just practicing what was on the sample paper and not actually a broader range of topics. So that admissions and entrance exam booklet, which you might have in a prospectus pack or is available on our website, details for all the different year groups, year 7, 8, 9 and 10 entry, the sort of maths topics that might be investigated during the assessment.
And really, we're just looking for pupils who seem to have a love of learning, which often comes through in the free writing, pupils that enjoy learning about new things, and pupils that really, are just willing and ready to learn.
That's right. So as long as they can write in full sentences, they know where capital letters and full stops go, and they are willing to give things a go, even if they're not quite sure, perhaps, of the method or the answer. So we would always tell the children, show all of their working out in the maths exams, because you might get marks for the right sort of method, even if the answer's not quite right at the end. So always show everything. We do also tell the children in the exams, if there's a particular topic that they've never been taught, to just write that against the side of that question. I've never been taught this. That's absolutely fine. It just tells the people marking our papers that this is a subject that they haven't come across before. So we take all of that into account.
And we know that pupils are coming from all different sorts of schools and all different sorts of backgrounds. So we recognise that when we are marking papers as well.
That's right. So if some families want to do some additional practice, again, absolutely not necessary. We don't say that it's needed at all. But if you want to, then you can buy Bond 11 Plus practice books. This is for Year 7 entry. You can get them from high street bookshops or from online retailers. They come in maths, English, and verbal and non-verbal reasoning assessments, and they just give you the chance to just sort of do extra practice. But as I say, not something that we feel is particularly necessary as long as children say reading, practicing the times tables, practicing their spellings, looking at words they don't understand, and just have had a little bit of experience in writing against the clock.
One question that we get asked quite a lot is actually whether there is a hard pass-fail mark. And the answer is there absolutely is not. So the purpose of the exam that the child sits is to see whether they can access our curriculum for the year that they would be going into. So it's not like we say that at 60% that's absolutely perfect and that's a pass and that's that. It's more about us getting a feel for the child. We understand that children have strengths in different areas, that they might be slightly stronger on an English paper or a maths paper compared to the other one. So it's more about us gauging how they would access the curriculum.
Yeah, so the entrance exams are important, but they're not the only thing that we look at in terms of applications. We look very much at the extracurricular activities that children are taking, and the information for that you as parents will have provided on the registration form. We will seek a confidential reference from the child's primary school, so we look at that as well. And we're just looking for an intake cohort of around about 130 children, and the entrance exams, the purpose of those is solely to reassure us that this child is going to cope with the Year 7 or Year 8 or whichever year they are looking for, to cope with that curriculum. As Georgia said, we don't have a pass mark, and we take lots of other things into consideration when we're making offers, not just the entrance exams. We firmly believe that a child is more than a set of entrance exams.
And if they are slightly younger in the year, how does that work? So say someone's a July baby rather than an October baby.
I'm a July baby, so that absolutely is something that I'm interested in looking at. And we make it very fair across the board that the child's age in years and months is provided on the sticker that will be on their entrance exams. And so each of the assessments is weighted against that to make it fair. It is taken into account in the score that comes out at the end of the process, that it is taken into account when they're younger in the year baby. So please don't worry about that.
And what do they actually wear? That's a question that parents always want to know.
That's right. So for the last few years, we have asked children to wear their comfortable own clothes. We feel that it means that everybody's on a level playing field and they feel more comfortable and relaxed and ready to do their very best.
And how about, so for the past few years, we've perhaps seen a bit more of this, but what happens if we've got applicants that are perhaps international students or students coming from outside of the area?
So if we have people who are moving to the area, coming from abroad who haven't actually moved yet, it's not a problem at all. We can make arrangements for them to sit their entrance exams, usually in the week before we sit them on the Saturday, and they can take their exams at their current school. So we will just liaise with either the head teacher or the exams officer at their current school and send across copies of the papers. They sit them in exam conditions at their current school, and then they send us back the scripts, which get marked with all of our other intake who are taking in November. We can arrange interviews for older children in years 8, 9 and 10. We can do that over Zoom or Teams. Not a problem at all. We just sometimes have to factor in a time difference, but we can make that work. So please don't worry, if you are applying from a long way away from Warwickshire or even indeed overseas, then we can absolutely make that happen. Just get in touch and we can discuss the actual individual arrangements for your child.
And equally, like we have mentioned before, we do recognise that some children take more than one entrance exam, and occasionally entrance exams might fall on the same day. If that's the case for you, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh gosh, there's another exam sitting on the same day that the Prince-Thorpe one is, please do just get in touch with us and we can discuss your individual circumstances and see how we can help in that situation.
That's right. So always get in touch if there's anything you're concerned about. In the run-up to the entrance exams, the admissions office is open throughout the year. At least one of us will be there to answer any questions that you might have.
So I guess the final thing to address is what happens if the child has additional learning needs. And what we always say is please just apply in plenty of time. Please make sure that you include as much information as you have So whether that is an individual learning plan or an educational psychologist report, then just include that in there. And we'll pass that on to a member of our SEN team, and they will review it and decide whether they are happy to just put some access arrangements in place or whether they would actually like to meet your child. But again, that is on an individual basis, and we will be in touch about that. Obviously, if you do have access arrangements, that we can also accommodate for that. And Catherine, do you want to just talk us a little bit through that?
Yes, as Georgia said, it's very much on an individual child's basis. For those who perhaps have dyslexia, and we have very firm evidence that their normal way of working is 25% extra time and possibly exam papers in a different colour. That's very easy to offer, and so we would just confirm that with you on the basis of the evidence that you've provided. If a child has more complex needs or multiple different needs, then it may be, as Georgia says, that the learning support team asks you to bring your child in for a quick meeting just to go over their normal ways of working, because that's what we always base our access arrangements on, to see how we can best support the child on their entrance exam day, and also if they were to come to Princethorpe in Year 7. So access arrangements might be something like, say, additional time, or somebody to help with reading the questions or even scribing the answers, or for a child using a laptop for longer pieces of writing. It might be that they have special equipment to use, like coloured glasses or coloured overlay to help with their dyslexia. Whatever your child's arrangements are, we're more than happy to discuss, as long as it's something that we can put into practice to keep your child safe on the entrance exam day. We will do our utmost to conform with that. Some children need to sit their exams in very small groups or even on a one-to-one basis. And again, that's something we can accommodate. The main thrust of the access arrangements that we make for the entrance exams is that it needs to be the child's normal way of working, and it will be based on evidence that you as the parents are able to provide. So as George has said, please send us over any documentation that you have, particularly an individual education plan, an education healthcare plan, educational psychology reports, anything that you have that details the child's current needs, that they're normally working in that way, and that's the access arrangements that we will do our best to replicate.
But again, if you've got any questions in that department or any concerns, just get in touch with us.
That's right. We absolutely appreciate that every child is an individual with individual needs and circumstances. And as a result of that, we look at the whole all-round child to make sure that we're offering a holistic approach to your family. So I think that probably wraps up our podcast about entrance exams for today. We hope you found it useful, and hopefully you found it reassuring as well.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time for the next episode of A Pathway to Princethorpe, where we'll be discussing admissions for Year 8, 9 and 10.
So we hope you'll be able to join us for that, and we look forward to our next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
And that concludes this episode of The Pathway to Princethorpe. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable in helping you navigate the admissions process for your child.
Remember, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like us to cover in future episodes, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can email us on admissions@princethorpe.co.uk. Your feedback is essential in shaping this podcast to better serve you, our listeners.
And as always, stay connected with us on our website and social media channels for updates and additional resources. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so that you never miss an episode.
Thank you for joining us. Until next time, take care and best of luck with your admissions process. We look forward to welcoming you to our Princethorpe community soon.